According to Ian Rappaport, Kyle Pitts will be franchise tagged. George Pickens will be franchise tagged. Breece Hall likely to be transition tagged, which is a very different tag with very different implications, very different likelihoods of signing a long-term deal with the transition tag. We're going to break down all of this and more. The Fantasy Football Show, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live whenever big news breaks. That show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Deck attack. Deck attack. Lamb. Pickens.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Pickens, Lamb, Kyle Pitts, Breece Hall, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Danny Dimes. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with this one right here. NFL Network, Ian Rappaport reporting that Falcons plan to use the franchise tag on Kyle Pitts. This has kind of been known. This isn't new information. We've talked about this several times over. Some people are like, did you hear the news? We've been talking about this. We know there's a likelihood that a lot of these guys are going to get tagged or franchise tagged or transition tagged to some degree. And this is a player that the team doesn't want to get away. And I don't blame him. He's a fantastic player that finished, always been could he be a top 5 tight end again? And everybody about to give up on him walking into this 2025 season we just went through. And Kyle Pitts responded. And he said, looky here, reindeer. I am tight end number 2. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it. Tight end 2 is wild. Because it didn't feel like he was number 2. It felt like he was top 5. Top 6. He felt right around where Warren and Fannin and Ferguson kind of were. Ferguson actually is a kind of surprising rank right there. This is your top 10. I got to reorder this. I ordered it at first based on weeks 1 through 17. And then I think we were looking at week 18 as well. And then I reorganized them. But I need to put them back the way they were. Because some of this is through week 18. I don't do that through week 18. We need to look at weeks 1 through 17. So I have to reorder this slightly. I think Goddard moves a little bit. Ferguson might move one spot. Bowers moves slightly. So I just got to take a look at that. But ladies and gentlemen, the tight end number 2 last year is getting franchise tagged for good reason. He's always shown immense promise. He had one of the best rookie tight end seasons to ever occur in the National Football League. There's so much upside and appeal for his future. He's not tapped out on his potential. So this is a player that this new Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees, head coach and offensive coordinator tandem that comes straight over as the exact tandem that was in Cleveland, screwed up that whole situation forever. I'm a little worried. I like Kyle Pitts under Tommy Rees, given Fannin just was glorious, as we predicted on this channel that Fannin would be. So, Tommy Rees probably does similar things that he did with Fannin with Kyle Pitts. So, that's pretty cool when you think about that aspect of things. That we're looking at Tommy Rees, who had the number 5 tight end, and he's getting handed the number 2 tight end from last year. So, that is good news. And this could matriculate on down to London potentially, because Tommy Rees didn't have any wide receivers. So, he used Fannin as his wide receiver, much like Fannin was used in college, when Fannin was the number 1 pass catcher of tight ends and wide receivers combined in his 2024 final college season. I don't think people realize it. We talk about it a lot, but I don't think people realize that Fannin, he beat Jeremiah Smith. He beat out Ted McMillan. He beat out Travis Hunter. He beat out every single wide receiver and tight end in the league, in college football and FBS, in receptions and in yards, both categories. That's how good Fannin was in college. And we told everyone we invented Fannin.
I smell meatloaf.
So there's a chance London gets a lot of love from Tommy Rees. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not even saying Stefanski's for sure going to ruin everything. because Tommy Rees did pretty good. Tommy Rees had a bad hand given to him by Stefanski, his head coach in Cleveland, now his head coach in Atlanta. This is crazy, but he was given a bad hand because he was given Shedeur with no prep. Shedeur, when he started his first game, Stefanski didn't have him take one snap under center until kickoff. I mean, that's how much of a moron Stefanski is. And Tommy Rees still made it work. He still made Shedeur look pretty good, considering Shedeur was handcuffed and really set up to fail. And Fannin was fantastic. And Judkins was good at times, but Tommy Rees didn't really get the most out of that. So we're worried about the Atlanta Falcons a little bit. But from a Kyle Pitts, let's not go too much down that rabbit hole and stick with Kyle Pitts and just say Kyle Pitts is in good hands because Tommy Rees just showed us with Fannin what he's capable of doing with a tight end. So
Mashed potatoes!
no pause needed.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy.
So that's that. We'll talk more about that later. George Pickens, this report right here. Cowboys Executive VP Stephen Jones, Stephen, however you want to call him, said that he will place the franchise tag on George Pickens sometime next week. So Pickens is going to get tagged. Pickens is going to get upset. The Dak attack stack is vulnerable. And the other report that we had yesterday talked about how George Pickens is most certainly going to hold out if he gets slapped with the franchise tag, unless they work out a long-term deal. Pickens is going to want top 5 money. What we've said on this channel over and over and over, and we'll continue to say on this channel, is that number 1 overall is Jamar Chase, who's getting that $40 million amount per year. Then you have 2 and 3, which are likely going to be JSN and Puka Nacua. So if JSN gets his extension very soon, he's almost certainly going to get it sooner rather than later, and almost near guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but in this racket, nothing's guaranteed, but almost guaranteed to get it well before Pickens, right? So if JSN walks into even 39 to 40 million, and Puka walks into 39 to 40 million, then all of a sudden number 4 is Justin Jefferson. I believe that's the third one up. I'll have to look at the exact. 35 million is what JJ gets. Regardless, that's where JJ's sitting, even if it's 4 or 5. And so this is where Pickens is probably going to come in to the equation and say, I want 35 million. That's if these two numbers hit. And I think that there's a chance he wants 40. We don't know. He's George Pickens. He can ask whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. He was number 5 last year. He was the number 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. He was the number 5 wide receiver in NFL terms as well. And that commands something. He also was traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Dallas Cowboys on his deal that he did not ask for an extension on. Usually 99% of the time when a team gives up draft capital to acquire a player, they want to sign that player to a long-term deal. So the trade is announced and a new contract is announced in unison, in parallel. And that did not happen in this case. It was very odd. And usually the player puts up a stink like, hey, if you're going to trade for me, I want the deal. And then the team's like, okay, well, we can't trade for him if he doesn't want to sign a deal. We got to know what the deal is, right? Teams usually would not even trade for Pickens under the assumption that we'll work out a deal. Don't worry about it. They want to know that it's in place when they make the trade, so that their investment of trading draft capital for player is a long-term investment and not some shaky one-year rent-a-player type situation. But this was not the case in this situation. Pickens came over and said, I don't want a deal. I want to earn it, which was ballsy. And boy, did it pay off.
I smell meatloaf.
It paid off. It paid off in theory. It paid off because now Jerry's got to pay him. But this man said, I'll bank on myself. He went out and did it. He banked on himself and he did good work.
You've just been Smitty.
Top 5 numbers he dished out. Top 5 pay he should get back. But will the Cowboys end up screwing this one up? And if anybody says, oh, Georgia's not getting traded, Smitty, oh, contraire. This is the same organization and Jerry's world that got rid of Parsons when Parsons, months before he was traded, the Parsons ain't going anywhere. Yeah, Jerry's not capable of screwing everything up. Let me tell you something that you may not realize, but we live in Jerry's world. We live in Jerry's world. You live in it. I live in it. None of us asked for it. We just live in it because his decisions create havoc for us. If you think Jerry is going to do all the right things every step of the way, you're out of your mind. Jerry could easily get this thing all bent out of shape. And then what does this man do? Holds out, causes chaos. Jerry's like, we'll just trade him then. And you can trade him. The way Jerry's going to look at it is they're not losing anything. He's not under contract right now. We can go get something that can help us in this draft class. Help this team win a football game is what we're going to do. Can you expect anything less from Jerry? The odds-on favorite landing spot or destination or place that he plays in 2026, rather, is Dallas. Land right where he was. That's what's probably going to happen. Probably. How high is my probably percentage? 65%. Was it once 80? Yeah. Was it once 75? Yeah. Was it once 69? 68, 67, 67? It's now probably 60 to 64%. Let's put it there. That is the likely chance that George Pickens is a Dallas Cowboy in 2026. That's a high percentage. You flip a coin 10 times, 6 times, it lands on George Pickens going back to Dallas to play football. But right now, he's not under contract. He will be franchise tagged, at which point he will be forced to sign the tag eventually. Or he could hold out. He's not going to hold out the entire season. But he's not under contract right now. His contract's up. That's what the tag's going to do. Now, slapping a franchise tag on a player isn't putting him under contract until he signs or is forced to be on the tag. So he will still be, in all intents and purposes, a free agent. But he's got the tag designation thrown in his direction. I don't think Jerry and Dallas, I don't think they're smart enough to get this thing all organized and buttoned up by the time NFL free agency is over. Meaning the Dallas Cowboys can't rectify a void that they create by trading Pickens away through free agency, because they won't trade Pickens away before free agency goes into rapid fire mode. And all these wide receivers end up landing on rosters right when the new league year happens, right in March. So we're waiting for the March new league year. And once that 1-2 days happens, Pierce is gone, Evans is gone, Dobbs is gone, Wandell's gone, probably even Tyreek Hill's gone. All these players, Debo's probably gone. By the time we get 4 days deep into the NFL free agency, which is happening in March, all these guys will be on teams. So you're not going to remedy anything with these guys here. They'll be gone. You have the rookies, these 3 rookie monsters that are going to be available to you if you do get a pick that you can maybe use. And maybe they don't even want to use a pick, but if you don't want to use a pick to replace George Pickens, you just let all these free agents sign in mid-March. How are you going to fill the void if you trade Pickens on draft day? You've got to draft a wide receiver because these guys are gone. Or you make another trade, but why do that when you could just sign Pickens? Adunze, BT, A.J. Brown's probably not going to get traded at this point. A.J. Brown's turning over a new leaf. It's kind of wild. It happens where, like Ayuk, when he didn't want to be in San Francisco at all. They organized a Cleveland Brown trade, and then he backed out and got homesick. Like a kid going to camp. He's like, I don't want to go, and backed out of the Browns deal. Didn't want to trade. This guy's Ayuk's a mess. Nobody should want Brandon Ayuk. Nobody. And he'll soon be cut and be on that, and he essentially is. So we really got to put Ayuk on this list. Let me put Ayuk on this list. Let's see if I can throw Ayuk, buddy boy, over here. In that way, we're appropriately accounting for him. Now, where would I slot him in here? Some of you are not going to like where I put him. I have no real interest in Brandon Ayuk. If I'm an organization, I really don't. The guy's a head case. He's coming back from injury. I do think he's probably in this territory right here. I'd probably say right around there. I think he's behind. He's ahead of Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill is probably cooked. The Debo Samuel's getting too old. I'd say Debo's still behind Jennings. I think Keenan Allen's way too old. Shaheed's a special teams guy. So this is probably the order, I would say, of this. But again, all these guys will be on teams right away in March. So we trade Pickens on draft day. These guys are gone. You're screwed. You're taking a rookie wide receiver, and that's it. So you need to get a pick. Who knows how this is going to go? Everyone acts like, oh, they'll just get someone to free agency. I don't know why people keep saying that. It doesn't make any sense. Daniel Jones, ladies and gentlemen, Colts expected to sign him to a multi-year deal. I don't hate it, but I also feel like, okay, he's coming off that horrible injury. I mean, I guess, we look at Aaron Rodgers, we look at Cousins. The Achilles is not the end of the world, especially for a younger guy like Daniel Jones, but he's also mobile. We're watching Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers not tear their other Achilles tendon, which happens so many times over. When you have an Achilles tear, like George Kittle, for example, George Kittle's Achilles recovery is different than Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, and so you can't look at George Kittle the same way. He's older, like Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, so that part is parallel. But Aaron Rodgers and Cousins are doing very little to go tear their other Achilles tendon. Your Achilles tendons, they're like brake pads on your car. They're like they're like basically you're gonna wear down one brake pad. The other one's not gonna be brand new. They're both getting worn down. One actually ended up getting a little more wear and tear than the other. It's a little bit ahead of the game, but the other one's there too. His Achilles tendons are likely one snapped, but the other one, and at the time, were probably remotely close to the amount of wear and tear, and the way he explodes and uses them, he's put them in vulnerable positions. The idea that he's going to go out there and be his old self, block, reckless abandon, just putting his body on the line, he is a very likely candidate to tear the other Achilles tendon. This is why Cam Akers re-ruptured an Achilles tendon, because it's a different position. So Kittle comes with a lot of risk. Now, you might say, okay, good. Well, quarterbacks don't, right, Smitty? Not necessarily, because Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, although older than Danny Dimes, they're not out there mobile, running around. He runs around. He does a lot of running. He's younger, though, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. All I know is, like, you're better grabbing him and signing him and inking him to a long-term deal. Given he's young, you can probably... there's a greater chance that his other Achilles tendon is probably not as bad off, and he suffered suffered more of a unique tear. So he probably isn't as bad off, but there probably is some vulnerability, especially to re-tear the current Achilles tendon that he just had fixed when he's out there running, putting his body in vulnerable spots. Malik Willis, but this is back to Danny Dimes for a second. JT, we need it for JT. JT was a monster with Danny Dimes. He was back to being very, very bottled up and unable to get a well-rounded amount of work consistently without Dimes on the field. So we do need Dimes back. It's good for everybody. And Alec Pierce, sounds like the team wants to bring Alec Pierce back. We'll see what happens with Alec Pierce too. But Pittman's most likely going to get cut. It saves the team a ton of money. Pittman will likely be going somewhere and be on the free agent wide receiver board as well. Malik Willis, overwhelming belief by pretty much everybody in the industry that the Dolphins are the favorite to sign him because you have all of the Dolphins' ties now to Green Bay. From GM to coach, head coach, defensive coordinator, head coach, but still head coach and a lot of coaching ties and connections to the old Green Bay staff. That's why everyone thinks this is going to happen. I personally think it's good for Achane. I don't think it's good for Malik Willis necessarily. I think it's okay for him. I think he could do okay in Miami, but he probably has a greater chance to succeed in a place that's a little bit more ready to go. This is going to be a disaster in some ways because your Miami Mike is leaving, going to become Malibu Mike, and he's leaving a circus. It's very complex. Think of like leaving the Cirque du Soleil. Okay, you're this grand, wizard of commanding this whole entire operation, and it's complicated, moving parts everywhere, and you step away and you hand it over to somebody that's never run it. They're going to have to tear it down and run their own system, and that's going to cause a lot of problems. Very, very rarely do you see someone like Ben Johnson or like Malibu Mike, formerly Miami Mike, step away from such a eclectic situation and have it be as good, at least. Not likely better, but as good in terms of explosiveness and getting everybody into scoring position and feeding the running back the way that Miami Mike did, and having yardage, numbers that Tua could get that that Ewers can't get, and who do they go after? Okay, so Malik Willis, does he have a proven track record? No, but does that mean he can't succeed? No. Can he be an efficient kind of almost game manager like a Goff in a sense, but more from a little bit different perspective of style of play? Yeah. Do I think that Malik Willis is a 300-yard passer in Miami, taking Miami Mike's offense away? No, I don't. Do I think he'd be better off in Pittsburgh, where he could literally be game manager in chief and be very effective? Like almost be like top 14, 15, 14, 13, somewhere around there. Quarterback, fantasy football quarterback valuable because the touchdowns are there and the offense can march down the field, and it's kind of ready-made in some ways. I think DK Metcalf, phenomenal wide receiver. You put in Miami Mike's role a incompetent head coach, which is what they have in Miami. A guy that unfolded in the playoffs and allowed the Bears to just take a improbable victory that had like a 5 to 6% chance of happening. This guy was I don't know how he got a head coaching job. It's Halfley's not good. And you're gonna literally ask Malik Willis to be a savior in this situation. I just know that Malik Willis is good for Achane. I know Malik Willis throwing the ball to Achane's better than Ewers throwing to Achane, because we just saw Ewers not throw to Achane. We need this move to be about Achane. It's not about Willis. I'm not saying he's not good in Superflex, but this move, I'm not worried about Willis. I'd rather sacrifice Willis's upside to get Achane some consistency that allows him to be consistent. I'm not worried about Waddle. Waddle's probably dead to me. Willis is not dead to me in Superflex, but certainly not excited unless I'm in a best ball draft and he's my third quarterback. I'd do that in a 1 QB, but I'm not. That's best ball. It's different. You don't house as many quarterbacks in yearly leagues, but Willis is not something that I'm worried about. I'm worried about Achane. So this move, to me, Smitty approve it, even though in general it's not really what we want. Breece Hall would likely, according to this report, the Jets would rather Breece Hall sign an extension. This staff wants him. Breece Hall hasn't felt wanted. The staff before this one didn't draft Breece Hall, so he felt out of place and not at home there. I'm sure he's kind of tired of the turnover. I'm sure he really does want to explore what's out there. And when he goes out and gets wined and dined, he will want to not return, I think. It's tough to say. I know that Breece he's a kind of guy very similar to Barkley, in that Barkley wanted to stay a Giant just because it was simple. And he's like, that's the kind of guy he is. And it was almost wild that he passed on an opportunity to go win a bowl and play for the Eagles and get really respected in the league again and be the number one running back that year, when he was trying his damnedest to stay in New York, and Joe Scheinbox didn't want to sign him to that deal, even though his owner did. And so the Giants let him go to Philly, and he ends up winning a Super Bowl. Breece is kind of similar. Like, he's almost self-destructive in that he doesn't know what's best for him. I hope that he does at least listen to his agent. They step out and they figure this out. Now, step out, what's that mean? Smitty, if he gets franchise tagged, he has no control. He's probably not going to get franchise tagged. He's probably getting the transition tag. The transition tag allows other teams to come wine and dine Breece Hall, make him an offer, and then the Jets have final say to say, I'll take that same deal and you can't have Breece Hall. I'll match it. Or they let Breece Hall go to the new team that offers him the contract. Breece Hall also getting the transition tag tells me that the team's not all that likely to invest high dollar value in him. If the team's unwilling to spend top 5 average annual salary on a franchise tag, so top 5 numbers, 4 RBs on Breece Hall, if that's too costly to them, and they want to throw the riskier he could get taken from you transition tag, which is top 10 average, they're not willing to pay the price. So they want to work out a long-term contract, but do they? How much will they be willing to really match if another team comes in and says, well, we're going to give you a pretty big contract? The Jets aren't in the business of taking a pretty big contract, or they would just franchise tag him and work out the long-term pretty big contract themselves. So they're really tipping their hand and saying, this is what we have. We're not really interested in Breece Hall, although we want him cheap. We do like him. We don't love him. We're going to transition tag him. Breece Hall has a very high likelihood of being on another roster in 2026 and beyond because of the way that this is, in my opinion, unfolding. The Chiefs make a ton of sense, obviously, because the Chiefs already wanted to trade for him. Now they can go off from a deal without giving up any draft capital if, in fact, he is given the transition tag and not the franchise tag. So very, very important tag that gets handed down. Franchise tag or transition for Breece Hall. Gets the transition tag, the Chiefs will come a-knocking. The Chiefs will offer him a nice deal. Let's just hope the Jets don't match it. And the Jets are more about like, oh, we don't mind taking that long-term deal because it kicks a lot of money down the road. And essentially it is lower than the franchise tag for year one. That would be the concern if the confines of the contract allow for it to be cheap year one. Then the Jets can make some sense of that and still sign him. But there's a real good chance Breece Hall is going to be wined and dined and end up potentially in another situation. This is here where it says the Jets will apply the franchise tag to Breece Hall, according to NBC Sports Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio. So that's where I got that information, obviously backed up and verified. And we're not just spitting, nonsense out here like a bunch of morons. Breece Hall, potential suitor could be the Cardinals. That would be a disaster. I do not like that. I'm not saying I'm out on Breece Hall entirely, but it certainly changed my expectation if he went to the Cardinals. You could say, why? Maybe the Cardinals do pretty good with running back. That's an old system, different coaches, multiple different systems at this point now. And Nathaniel Hackett is now as the offensive coordinator in Arizona. And while he's not calling plays, thank God. Thank God. He's still in charge of the offense. Nathaniel Hackett's the one that didn't let Javonte start. Remember Javonte's breakout year? Tore his ACL. Up until tearing his ACL, Breece Hall tore his ACL that year. It was a really, really bad year. It was sad. Because we had a good year, but those are two of our biggest predictions. So it started off kind of bumpy. But Javonte Williams, Nathaniel Hackett refused to start him. Stop it, Braylon Allen is not better than Breece Hall. Bro, who said that? I don't even want to look for that. I don't even want to, because if somebody said Braylon Allen's better than Breece Hall, and I respect them, I'm going to be so mad at myself that I read it, because I'm going to look at that person differently moving forward, so I'm not even going to go and read it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know if it was somebody I absolutely adore, because it might change some things. Who in the hell said that? Who in the hell? I want to know now. I wouldn't mind that. I've always thought Braylon was better than Breece Hall, says John. John doesn't affect anything, John. It doesn't change the way I feel about you, John, because you just spout off this nonsense whenever you see fit anyway. No one even takes this stuff seriously. Pretty. Thank you, John. Thank God it wasn't somebody that I consistently look at their comments and think that's a damn good comment. I'm pretty. I feel good. We're good. John, continue spewing whatever you usually do. No one's paying attention. What was I saying before John interrupted somehow, some way? I was saying Breece Hall. What was I saying? Somebody tell me what I was saying. Someone help me get back on track. Pickens, Breece Hall, Cardinals, Hackett. The Hackett job. It's Hackett is just, he's a disaster. And even if he's not calling plays, he screwed up Javonte Williams' rookie year. He screwed up everything he touches. And even if he's not calling plays, he's still got a hand in potentially who goes on the field and who comes off the field. Otherwise, what's the offensive coordinator doing? Right? So maybe LaFleur controls more than we think even in regards to that. But I highly doubt that Hackett doesn't have a hand in what's going on in the running game. And so let's just hope the Cardinals don't end up bringing Breece Hall in. This report right here, Maxx Crosby, it would take a Micah Parsons type package if the Raiders were to trade Maxx Crosby. We know that. That's not new news. ESPN Adam Schefter. He's probably just repeating it because it's not everybody. Look, let me defend Adam here, even though I started to rip on it because we're like, this is obvious. a lot of people have been taking breaks and hiatuses from football, and I do that too. I'll sometimes review news that I did the day prior because sometimes people just, they're checked out and you're trying to reel everybody back in. Like we got 153 people in the building on YouTube. During the season, we have 700 to 1,000 total live viewers at any one moment during the season. So a lot of people check out. And so, we definitely need to keep on our toes. Gifted membership by New Age Outlaw over on the Rumble side of the fence. And we've got, roughly 16 to 25 viewers on Rumble at any one moment. Appreciate all the Landman, New Age Outlaw, Seven Trees, and Bullfrog over on the Rumble side of the fence. If you guys haven't subscribed to Rumble, the moment we get to 10,000 followers and we're at 4.42K, or the moment someone drops a 500 tip on the Rumble wallet using BTC or Ethereum or Tether Gold, that show will be dedicated to that person that does that. I'm sending them a pair of gunners, and they will trigger the Rumble show to start immediately. And we don't wait till 10,000 followers. So just know that. Just know that. Appreciate every single one of you being here. Maxx Crosby, what I was trying to say is that I do sometimes come in and refresh, some of the news we've already talked about. But Maxx Crosby, if you haven't heard, it's going to be a Parsons type deal. Just to refresh on that note, yesterday's news, Jackson Smith and Jigba to get a contract extension very soon. Again, that's why we went over these numbers that I have right here, where Chase is, this is not done yet. This is not done yet. Chase, $40 million. JSN likely $39 to $40 million. Puka, $39 to $40 million. JJ is sitting at $35 million, and that's probably where Pickens ends up being right around that mark. But that would be probably after these two things happen. But who knows? Pickens might ask for 40. Pickens might say I'm the top 3 receiver. And really, can we argue with that? I mean, you can say, oh, he's not getting that, but maybe Pickens has a case to be made. He's playing with CeeDee Lamb and still was number 5. George Kittle, reasonable to think that he's playing football in week 5 or 6. It's reasonable, but is it smart? No. He'd likely re-tear or injure his other Achilles tendon. But we'll see. He's an older player, plays reckless. Jalen Hurts, Tush Push is not getting any requests to be banned so far. So there's a chance that it stays, but the commissioner doesn't want it. It causes a lot of controversy. The referees have a tough time with it. And quite honestly, I'm surprised there aren't a lot of people calling for it to be banned. They might not be calling for it because the commissioner has had it on his agenda and docket to ban it or to at least modify it. It's never going to really be banned. It's going to be banned as we know it. They'll ban the Tush Push, certain rules in the Tush Push that allow the Tush Push to be what it is. So they're not banning the Tush Push per se. They'll ban certain aspects of it, and then it will become something different, a morphed version. Maybe we call it something else. Maybe we call it some different kind of push. Maybe it's just get back to kind of like finding the gaps. And Josh Allen does the Tush Push very well without a lot of the push. And if you remember back when the Buffalo Bills started to do the Tush Push and deploy it, they were awful at it. They go to the same spot every time, get stuffed every time. Now Josh Allen's pretty good about implementing a Tush Push type variation and then finding gaps and using his big refrigerator size frame to just kind of lean into a space and get a first down. So I think a lot of teams are also getting better at it and finding their own way to do it. And so they don't really want to necessarily call it out now because they're like, well, now we're figuring out how to kind of do it. But at the end of the day, it does feel like it probably needs to be modified at least a little bit. Just because the refs are getting it wrong. It's not so much that the Tush Push bothers me from a conceptual standpoint, but when the referees have trouble refereeing the Tush Push and the Eagles end up cheating and getting an advantage, which they didn't at first, but we don't even know that too because we didn't do a lot of the overhead camera shots, but they're getting a jump on everything and the refs are not staying on top of it. So unless they monitor it from a automated, sky view level and then flags are handed out based on that, then I'm okay with that. And if they can't do that, then they do probably have to modify some things just to ensure that the Eagles aren't getting away with this like extra half a second of breaching the line of scrimmage and placement and just making it very, very easy for Jalen Hurts to get a yard or two that he probably shouldn't get, or 3 yards. But I don't think they should ban it entirely. I think that's ridiculous to try and say you can't play football. Oh, it's rugby, it's rugby. As long as you can modify it, maybe some of the pushing of it, but you should be able to do some of what, is taking place and transpiring. I don't think you could just modify everything because you don't like it because it works. You've been able to do it for how long now? So what are we going to modify things when people in the confines of rules start to figure out how to be good at something? That's beta. That's being a beta. Phone lines are open. Dial in. Appreciate every single one of you. Appreciate all my Rumblers. Thank you, New Age, for dropping that gifted membership. Thank you all on Rumble. If anybody hasn't subscribed to the Rumble channel, again, it's at 4.42K right now. We get to 5K, or somebody drops that monstrous Rumble tip. We will be starting the Rumble show early if that does happen. Otherwise, we'll be kicking off the Rumble show at 10K followers on Rumble, which is going to come quicker than you think, especially with the combine, the rookie stuff, the NFL draft, NFL free agency. We might grow at rapid pace over on Rumble, but right now we are awaiting that 10K mark, or that super tip on the Rumble wallet. Here's the link to the Rumble channel for all you on YouTube watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and all you guys on Rumble, please click the YouTube link in the description of the Rumble video to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You need to make sure you cross over. Here's the link right here. Boom. I'll pin the link. Link is pinned for the Rumble channel. Do it live. All right, guys, we are taking phone calls.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Miss Smitty's cooking baked potatoes. I think it's baked potatoes. I'm at the gym, says Husseini. Wearing your hoodie and listening to the show. Husseini doing work.
Mashed potatoes.
Husseini getting a pump in. Husseini getting a pump in his hoodie, sweating through the hoodie, doing it live. And if you want to know what hoodie he's talking about, let me answer this call from Bruce real quick. If you want to know what hoodie he's talking about, hold on, Bruce. Let me fix the phone line real quickly. Give me a second. This hoodie right here is what Husseini's talking about. These are the link, I think, is in the description for the hoodie. But this bad boy, let's see here. My cameras are all jacked up. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. So this is the one that Husseini's wearing. It's got the headphone. It's got the logo. It's got the logo on the side, or the YouTube URL on the side. But it's a pretty awesome hoodie. I do say so myself. Can't really put it on too much in the studio. I get super hot in here with all the lights and computers and screens. I got so much going on at any one moment in here. It gets brutally hot. I had to set the thermostat to function based on the temperature in this room versus the other rooms in the house, because it's a disaster. Okay, let me fix the audio real quickly, Bruce. I can't hear you yet. All right, Bruce, you're live. What can I do for you?
Hey, Smitty. I don't know if you said it earlier or not, but what do you think on Pitts in this offense? Do you think he's going to remind you of an Njoku or a Fannin? Or do you think, fans?
I definitely already covered that. I said that Tommy Rees made Fannin top 5, and he's getting handed Pitts, who was number 2. Now, I actually think Fannin is better than Pitts, though. But, Pitts just had a remarkable year, so I feel pretty good. I feel pretty excited that at least Pitts will be in good hands. But I'm hoping somehow, some way, Tommy Rees actually is better at just feeding a downfield target, and Fannin, because Fannin was essentially a wide receiver. He's obviously lining up as a tight end. He's blocking. He's doing some things. But Fannin in college was a wide receiver, essentially. He was a tight end, but they ran him like a wide receiver. And so part of me hopes and wonders that Tommy Rees's inclination is to use a lot of that goodness with London, not as much with Pitts. And I'm not saying I don't like Pitts. I'm not saying Pitts won't repeat to a degree, like top 6 tight end numbers. I think that's very doable. I don't think he'll be 2. I'm hoping London is the better receiver of Tommy Rees's attention. Let's just say that. But we'll see. It's hard to know. What else you got, Bruce?
What do you think of Penix in this offense too? Would you like take a chance on him later?
The concern with New Age Outlaw, appreciate this. As soon as I get the other caller off, I'm going to handle this super chat over on Rumble. Appreciate you dropping the 10 watt on screen. I think that honestly, Bruce, I don't know. Stefanski's not very good. Stefanski is not a very good decision maker. Stefanski literally screwed up the entire Shedeur Sanders situation. Stefanski, people say, well, that wasn't his quarterback. Well, then Stefanski shouldn't have drafted him. Well, the team made him. Well, then Stefanski doesn't have his house in order. So regardless, he goes and gets Dylan Gabriel before Shedeur. That was Stefanski's quarterback. It's been confirmed. Stefanski even wants to potentially look into trading for Dylan Gabriel, bring him over to Atlanta, and screw the quarterback situation up yet again. This is why Stefanski's a concern. I'm not saying I'm out on Bijan or anything, but Bijan's probably not as safe as he would have been if things just stayed the same. I'm not saying the Falcons had the right staff in place to win a bowl or a conference championship. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying Stefanski's not a good coach. And Stefanski screwed up royally this Cleveland Brown quarterback situation. He screwed it up. He screwed all of it up. And he showed incompetence when he didn't give Shedeur any practice reps right up to opening day on the field, where he took his first snap on the sideline right before the game kicked off. That is incompetence. And you know what his excuse was? Well, we prepared him in practice in other ways. What an incompetent coach. And this guy is the guy everybody says, but he's been coach of the year, and he's so good, Smitty. Stefanski's not it. He's not good at all. He's incompetent with his quarterback and personnel decision-making. End of story. Now, we just got to hope that, like Campbell, isn't really in the way that much. Ben Johnson in Detroit the year prior was able to overcome all of Ben Campbell's madness until you got into the playoffs, and then it was like a playoff decision or two that made the Lions lose or whatever. So you just got to hope that, like Ben Johnson was able to control the narrative in Detroit, or like Raheem Morris, I think he could be good on as a coordinator, but Raheem Morris was not a good head coach. Raheem Morris was probably probably a little bit better than Stefanski, but it was Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator in Atlanta, that allowed Bijan to be a 700-yard receiver, 800-yard receiver, 1,400 rusher, a double-digit touchdown getter, and a 70-plus reception running back. That was Zach Robinson, not Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris was bad, but Zach Robinson overpowered it. Can Tommy Rees overpower Stefanski? That's the question. Plain and simple. We don't know. We hope so. We hope Bijan's not affected. But the problem is that the wrench in this situation is that there was no quarterback controversy really, and we had Zach Robinson being able to utilize Penix Jr., where Drake London was the number one wide receiver on 3 different occasions before Penix Jr. went down. Drake London was on his way to being a top 3 lock wide receiver in the National Football League under Tommy Rees. Locked. Pitts ended up being the number 2 tight end in the league under Zach Robinson. That was amazing. Bijan, the number 1 running back in the league under Zach Robinson. Zach Robinson's fantastic. Zach Robinson, where's he now, Smitty? Where's Zach Robinson now? Tampa Bay, where he said when he got there, my new Bijan is Bucky Irving. And Emeka Egbuka is going to get the goodness that Zach Robinson was feeding London. London was the wide receiver 1 3 different occasions. Baker Mayfield's a lot better than Penix Jr., at least right now. I'm not saying Penix Jr. can't get there, but Penix Jr. is very much in flux coming back from that ACL. May or may not be ready for week 1. We don't even know. But Stefanski, the problem we have is Zach Robinson had stability. Okay? He had stability. We don't know what kind of stability is going to be in play here. in this situation at the quarterback position for Tommy Rees because Stefanski might meddle. And if Stefanski brings over a Dylan Gabriel in some stupid trade, or he doesn't trust Penix Jr., or he just screws it up, then Tommy Rees can only do so much with what he's given. It's more vulnerable than Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris, even though I believe Tommy Rees may or may not have some of the ability to do what Zach Robinson did, even if it's diluted. I don't know if Tommy Rees will be enabled. It's a tough situation. Real quickly, Bruce, I think I got another caller who hung up. He didn't want to wait. You can call back, caller, if you want. New Age Outlaw says on his super chat, what is Malik Willis worth in a rookie draft dynasty 12-man superflex? It's a great question. I would probably say dynasty 12-man superflex. I would probably say, I don't think he's a first rounder, but in superflex where you're desperate, like if you had the 1.12 and you had no second quarterback, it's a risk, but it's an intriguing risk. I think he could in Superflex be a pretty proficient QB2. I think it's more along the lines of like 2.1 and beyond. I think it's more along the lines of you have two tight ends and you don't need one of them. You're trying to figure out a way. Like you got Fannin and you've got Ferguson, you got Goddard, or you got Kyle Pitts and potentially Tyler Warren. You know, you got Loveland and maybe a Fannin. I'm not saying you trade Fannin for Malik Willis straight up, especially if it's tight end premium or something. But you figure out ways to do trades like that in order to try and get into that second quarterback. Bruce, hold on 1 second. Let me get this call. You are live, young man. What is your name and where are you calling from? Thank you, New Age.
Oh, hey, Smitty. This is Stefan from Philly. I'm an old head, so I'm 37, so I'm pretty old. So I've been in the game. I've been in the fantasy game for
bro. You're RJ Harvey's age. Stop. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
37. 37,
on,
bro. 37's a baby. Stop it, bro. What are you talking about? I'm old. I'm 37. You ain't 30. Go ahead. What can I do for you, old head?
Well, Smitty, but before I ask my question, I just want to make it. I am a Seahawks fan. So I have to take 3 or 4 seconds to stop and sulk in the fact that we won a Super Bowl and you Cardinals fans are just in the basement for another 5 or 10 years. But I'm just kidding. I'm kidding because I actually like you Cardinals guys. You're not a Niners fan, so you're not.
Get on with your point, bro. Get on with your point. No one cares about this. It's not.
Smitty,
I know you worked this up as a comedy bit. It's not working, bro. Go ahead.
Wait, Smitty, can I ask
you? Got practices all night in the mirror, bro.
If I ask you a dynasty question?
Do I mind if you? It's why the phone line's here. Yeah. Ask me. Okay. Ask away.
Real quick. Okay, real quick. Just for the contenders. Because I did win this championship. I won my league championship.
Get to it, bro. Bro, no one cares. No one cares. Just ask your damn question.
Okay, Smitty, and because I have DK on my bench, right? And he didn't help me. I just wanted for contenders.
Bro, can I ask you? Okay, bro. Hold on. What time is it?
Oh yeah.
What time is it?
In your time zone or my time
zone? I can't even answer a question. He can't answer a simple question. You know how much you talk before you actually get to the point? Like, I just asked you what time it is, and it proved it in front. I knew it. You can't trick me. Instead of answering the question, you have a follow-up question. You say, well, what time zone are we talking about? What is your dynasty question, my guy? I'm not mad at you. I'm trying to speed you along.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry, Smitty. No, I apologize as a
no problem.
Fan. That was my only. But my honest question is, for contenders, I have Olave on my bench, and I have DK Metcalf on my bench. Okay. I need help at receiver. I just wanted to know: do you think DK Metcalf is going to bounce back next year, or do you think I should trade him and get rid of him?
I would do either. I think both are great. There's no absolute here. Like, do I think DK will rebound? I do. Do I think McCarthy's going to be good for him? I do. Do I think they'll throw but some of it depends on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers very much looking like he's returning, but if they did get Malik Willis, I like DK more. I think DK will probably do okay though. I think McCarthy will probably have him get more footballs. Could I trade him? The value to trade him is not that solid. Would I trade him to get into a better player, a better vehicle, safer vehicle? Absolutely. So the answer is yes to both. Yeah. It just depends. What's the offer? What are you thinking?
Well, just as an example, I would be looking at giving up DK and maybe, well, it depends, either DK and a future pick or DK and a running back. I could tell you my whole roster, but
no, I don't want to hear your whole roster. Give me an example of a trade, not a tell me a story and dance around it. Give me an example of a DK trade, and I'll tell you yes or no to give you context.
Okay, Smitty. For example, Smitty, I have
finish him.
Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt.
Finish him.
I can't. Look, bro. I'm sorry. This does not mean you can't call in again. It does not mean I don't appreciate you. It doesn't mean I don't like you or anything like that. But like, you've got to be quicker about this. Phone line is not, this is not a psych line where we call up and get psychology, advice. I mean, it can be, but in that case, I literally just wanted an example, and then you just go in this other. Well, let me tell you a little story. Let me tell you a little story about a guy named Bill. Bro, I just need the example. I just need the example. Bruce, I'm sorry I hung up on you in the chaos there. If you want to call back in, you're more than free to call back in. Anybody else wants to call in, please, short questions. Please keep it tight.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Give me a trade example. Well, let me just read the entire roster. Have you heard about the story of Crosby Merritt, Bill? Let me tell you about that one. Oh, there's a squirrel. All right, Phil, or whatever your name was. What was it, Phil? Antonio? What was it? From Philly. He's from Philly. Wherever you are, don't take offense to it. It's just how it is. Husseini, how's that pump going at the gym in the sweater? The sweater soaking, sopping wet. Husseini getting a pump in with the brand new sweater on. Guys, I launched an unbelievable. I'll show it later tonight, but I launched an unbelievable series of tools on the fantasyfootballshow.com. And those tools are up. I'll just do a quick screenshot of everything real quickly. So I have the draft simulator up on the fantasyfootballshow.com, and this is kind of what it looks like. I'll do a little screenshot of it. It's an instant draft simulator. Your boy invented the first draft simulator in the business back in the day anyway. To my knowledge, because that's why I got into the business. When I got into the business to create thefantasyfootballshow.com, about 25 years ago, or whenever it was, I don't know, what is it? Well, I think it's 2002, 2003. I got into the business. Nobody had even steady internet until like 1997, 98, roughly. And so about within 4 years' time, I'm combing through the internet. There's like 4 sites out there creating content. Very little content at all on fantasy football. So your boy's a connoisseur and a innovator in the business, whether you believe me or not. And there was no trade calculator anywhere. So I created the first trade calculator and draft simulator. The draft simulator has kind of been retired for a few years, but your boy decided to rejuvenate it. And so the draft simulator is now available on the fantasyfootballshow.com. And you can pick your league size. So 10-man, 8-man, 12-man, 14-man. You can do a 6-round, 12-round. If you want to do a quick mock and you don't want to go through the whole draft, you can simulate it in the middle of it. You can do a dynasty. You can do a super flex. You can do a dynasty super flex, a redraft super flex. You can do a redraft simulator. And it's all instant based. It's fantastic. And then what's even better is when you're done, you can then click on that tab. Let me show you real quickly. That says cheat sheet, and you can essentially show. I'll end up walking you guys through this tonight and tomorrow, and we'll go through it a bunch. But you could essentially, you got the board view at the top left button. That white button, the cheat sheet button, shows you the actual draft in cheat sheet format after you're done with it. So that's fantastic. And then you can redline the rankings as well, where you can just click on them and actually draft with them. So there's that. I also have the trade calculator updated. I also have the fantasy football weekly lineup calculator, which gives weekly ranking suggestions and everything. The trade calculator is 10 times better than it's ever been. And then we also updated all the rankings. The rankings are updated all on one page, sortable by everything you can imagine. Superflex, non-superflex, dynasty superflex, dynasty only, rookie, super rookie, all sortable, one ranking page. Do it live, thefantasyfootballshow.com. Check it out. Phone lines are open briefly, and then we'll be back at midnight.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Let me go see what my rumblers are saying over here. Who's tried the draft calc, the simulator, and all that? Who's already tried the brand new revamped thefantasyfootballshow.com? More to come. I'm still tweaking things. Freaking fantastic. I love the tools. The tools are amazing. The cheat sheet on the draft simulator, I got to have an overall column added. But the red line feature is amazing. And even on the rankings, if you go to the rankings on thefantasyfootballshow.com and you click on up, you can redline the rankings. It doesn't save it. Let me just show you real quickly. It doesn't save it. It's a page refresh will take away all the checking that you're doing, and that's by design. It's not meant to say, like, here's just a snippet of the top. So if these are the rankings, the regular rankings, they're now totally revamped. If you select redraft, dynasty, superflex dynasty, superflex redraft, rookie, super rookie, and let's say on the overall you click on Gibbs to redline them. Let's say you're drafting and using this page alongside of your draft. It'll automatically redline them in the running back column. You can click it and undo both of them. Obviously it's mobile friendly as well. They're all up. It's fantastic. thefantasyfootballshow.com. Check it out. Rumblers, what do you got going on over here on Rumble? Let me see real quickly. New Age Outlaw, thanks again for that gifted membership and also the super chat. Appreciate you. Appreciate Mikey in the building. Mikey, glad to have you over on Rumble. Guys, subscribe on Rumble. Appreciate everybody over there. Breaking NFL news. We went through everything we got. We'll be back at midnight Eastern. Your boy Smitty's going to go eat a baked potato. Miss Smitty's cooking up right now. I will do more of a presentation of all the tools and rankings once we're back at midnight tonight. And we'll probably draft on Underdog, I imagine. Or we'll go through a mock draft together. Draft calc and simulator are smooth, says Sick Nasty. It's really smooth, bro. The trade calculator is unbelievable. Look at what happens when you perform a trade. Let me show you. This calculator is so off the hook, and I'm still working on it. I'm still tweaking it. Let's trade Jamar Chase for, let's trade Ashton Genty and let's see here. Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers for Jamar Chase and James Cook. And we'll analyze the trade. Here's what it cranks out, which is unbelievable. This tool, like you thought the other trade calculator was good, this gives you so much knowledge. Again, where? thefantasyfootballshow.com. Here is what it cranks out. So Jamar Chase, James Cook, and you can add other players. You can just add to this. You can tweak it. You can do 5-for-1 trade, a 10-for-1 trade, 10-for-10 trade. Genty Bowers at the bottom. You give, and this is done on a redraft. You can toggle it to Dynasty, recalculate it for Dynasty. You give $131. You get $128. They win by 3 if you do this trade. And then it says right here, note, Ashton Genty is one of Smitty's top 5 favorite players to draft and roster this season, though. Giving you extra advice. This trade is very close. Consider the players that you're acquiring to help fill roster need that makes the slight difference worth it. That's the way it's going to calculate. It's fantastic. This is redraft. If we were to calculate it for Dynasty, let's switch it to Dynasty and then calculate it. You're going to see a different outcome. Because of the value of Brock Bowers versus James Cook. But let's do a lopsided trade. Let's just take off James Cook, and then I'll show you what it says when you do some stupid trade. And how does it speak to you? Does it have good bedside manner? Does it tell you, don't worry about it. It's a bad trade, but you're still okay? Or does it yell at you? So right here, look at this. If you were to try and do some sort of stupid trade like Jamar Chase for Genti and Bowers, it would tell you, you win by 61, or if you were to do that, you would be crushing this one. If we were to flip it, you'd be making a bad trade. Highway robbery. This is the deal of a lifetime. Accept immediately. Note, Ashton Genti is one of Smitty's top 5 players to draft this season. So go check out the trade calculator. It's up at thefantasyfootballshow.com. Appreciate every single one of you. Dial into the show later. Appreciate my Rumblers. Guys, go subscribe to the Rumble channel. Link is pinned in the live chat. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. See you all at at midnight Eastern. Deuce. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday, live whenever big news breaks. Hold on.